On this episode of the DCeric Show, we go back to the year 2000 with Planet Ring for the Sega Dreamcast. This presentation is brought to you by Dreamcast.es, who have made a server emulator to put Planet Ring back online. Back in the year 2000, Sega wanted to demonstrate the power of online gaming, and they were able to do that with web browsers and plenty of games. One of those games was Planet Ring, which featured 4 mini-games. The game also included a messaging service so you could send messages to friends or random players. There was also voice chat in 2 of the 4 games. Of course, Planet Ring was a game that came bundled with a system or a web browser for players in Europe, which means this game was not released in Japan or North America. As a first-time player, you'll be asked to create a character, so you'll have to give the character a username and set up a password, so the next time you join the server, you can use that character. Along with this process, you are asked where you live. The game was only released in Europe, so if you don't live there, you will not recognize any of the places. So of course, you would have to select any one you think sounds cool. The game also asks for a serial number, which would be in the manual. If you didn't have a serial number, well, you couldn't play the game. The game didn't last very long online, maybe 2 to 3 years, until Sega pulled the server due to the discontinuation of the Sega Dreamcast. 12 years later, and thanks to the helpful hands of the homebrew community, we are now able to play this game online once again throughout Europe, North America, Japan, and throughout the whole world. The guys over at Dreamcast.es have been hard at work for the last year trying to make a server emulator to get this game back online. They've done an outstanding job so far. It still needs a little bit of work, but they are almost there. This game was never playable in North America, but thanks to these guys, now we can finally get our hands on this game. Also, for those of you worried about a serial number mentioned earlier, you won't need this for the server, so just put in any type of number. Now let's talk about the mini-games included with this package. In order to select a game, you'll have to travel the world of Planet Ring. There is arrows that point to the direction of the mini-games featured. Before you join a game, there is tables where you can sit down and join a game. Once you enter the mini-games room, there will be a bunch of seats for you to select from. This is where the messaging service becomes useful. You or your friend can message each other with a seat number to play at. Bubble and Soar will have 4 chairs so you can play against 3 other people. Dream, Doribo, and Splash have seats for 2 so you can battle against 1 other person. Soar is a game where you have to fly your character with a crazy control scheme. There's levels you can select which will have you doing different objectives. I have tried 3 of the levels featured. One of them has you flying to the top of the screen, and the first person to reach the top wins the game. The next one I tried, you had to burst the balloon of the person you were battling. Once it's popped, you win the game. There's also one like a racing game where you have to race on a track. You have to be the first person to reach the finish line and you win the race. As said, the control scheme for Soar is a bit difficult and I still have to learn my way through it. Bubble is a game where you're supposed to capture balls on your colored pad. Once you collect enough balls, you can knock them off the side. The one with the most balls knocked off wins the game. It's a pretty simple game. You use the A button to raise the pad and the B button to lower the pad. At first I had no clue what I was doing, but I got help from Neoblast, the coder for the server. So the next time I give the game a try, I'll be able to play it better. Dream Doribo is a game where you collect items and you have a friend who will guide you along the way. He will tell you places to watch out so you don't get captured by the owner and his dog. Eventually, when you have collected enough items, your friend will then guide you to the truck where you will finish and win the game. This one is actually pretty fun. At the moment there is a slight problem with voice chat over the DC to PC server, but that should eventually get fixed. But it works really well using the dial-up connection. Splash is another game that supports voice chat. In this game you are to guess where your enemy ships are and shoot at them. Kind of like Battleship without the numbers and letters. While in voice chat you can taunt each other and make fun of the person who is losing. It's actually a pretty fun game and it's one I can't wait to play again. Well, that is all that Planet Ring has to offer for minigames. I'm sure at some point Sega planned to add more minigames via DLC content, but that never got to happen. But with this now being available to play via Dreamcast.es servers, who knows of the possibilities that can happen. I cannot be certain you'll get DLC, but at least we get to play some Sega history. There's a few disappointments though to watch out for. One of the biggest annoyances is that the game uses dial-up only, so even if you have a broadband adapter, you will not be able to connect to the server. There is another method which does allow you to connect via a DC to PC server. The annoyance of that is that you need a Dreamcast Rev A modem, which sends electricity down the line to accept the connection. If you don't have it, then it won't work. Most Dreamcast modems I have found are Rev B, and those modems do not send electricity down the line, which means the server connection will not work. One other thing you'll need is a modem for PC that sends electricity down the line. These usually aren't too hard to find, but I have had more trouble with PCI models, and people have told me the USB dial-up modems seem to work fine for them. At the moment though, the DC to PC server hasn't worked for me, and I'm waiting for my USB dial-up modem to give it another go. If you would like to give the DC to PC server connection a try, visit the link on the screen. The link is also available via the video description. Now there is a few issues that are getting fixed, however there is only one known to me at this moment, and that is using voice chat. For some reason voice chat doesn't work too well over the DC to PC server connections, and that is not because of the server emulator, it's because the game itself was coded to voice chat over a direct dial-up connection. I was told by a coder at Dreamcast.es that they are currently fixing this, so hopefully it will be fixed in a future update. You will have to know how to set up your Planet Web web browser or any other web browser for the Sega Dreamcast. I had to reconnect Planet Ring a few times and eventually I was able to connect. You can use your direct dial-up connection to connect to the servers or use the DC to PC server connection. I personally have enjoyed the experience so far, and I hope to enjoy more after I get the DC to PC server finally working. I personally want to thank the coders at Dreamcast.es, IndieCat, and NeoBlast, and whoever else was part of this project. If you would like to get your hands on the patch, head on over to www.Dreamcast.es. The link will be available in the video description. If you would like to get your hands on Planet Ring and play this wonderful game online, head on over to eBay and pick up your copy today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and come back to see another game I couldn't keep my hands off of.